For millions of years, the story of life began. In the same way, a tiny sperm meeting an egg, somewhere inside a body. A quiet process, hidden from sight, but repeated billions of times throughout human history. Until, just a few decades ago, we learned how to bring part of that process into the light. How to start a human life in a glass dish. Today, millions of people walk the earth who began their journey in a laboratory thanks to a technology called in vitro fertilization. What is IVF? IVF, short for In Vitro Fertilization, means fertilization in glass. It's a way to help people have children when nature needs a little nudge. The process begins with the ovaries. Doctors stimulate them to release several mature eggs instead of just one. These eggs are gently collected, like precious pearls. In a laboratory, sperm meets egg in a small petri dish, a tiny artificial ocean. If all goes well, one sperm will enter an egg, and the first cell of a brand new human will be formed. Over the next few days, this cell divides, and divides again, becoming an early embryo. Scientists carefully watch its progress, almost like gardeners tending a delicate seedling. When the time is right, one or more embryos are placed into the uterus, where if nature cooperates, pregnancy begins. On average, about 30% of IVF attempts lead to a successful birth. But in some advanced clinics, the success rate can be more than 50%. The first human born through IVF arrived in 1978. Her name was Louise Brown, and her birth made headlines across the globe. To some, she was a miracle. To others, a worrying step into playing God. At the time, the technology was fragile. Success rates were low, and the procedures were expensive and experimental. But scientists kept refining the process, improving the equipment, the culture media, the way embryos were selected. Through trial and error, IVF became safer, more reliable, and more common. Parents who had been told it's impossible suddenly had a chance. In just a few decades, IVF moved from a radical experiment to a standard medical treatment in many countries. Today, more than 10 million people have been born through this method. Enough to fill a megacity, one that exists only because of science and determination. IVF is often seen as a last resort, but it's used for many reasons. Some couples face medical challenges, damaged fallopian tubes, low sperm count, or unexplained infertility. Others turn to it because of age, same-sex partnerships, or to avoid passing on certain genetic conditions. In a way, IVF is like building a bridge across nature's obstacles, giving people a path where none seem to exist. And it's not only about biology. For many, it's deeply emotional. The process can be a roller coaster of hope, anxiety, and resilience. Every blood test, every scan, every embryo picture becomes a milestone in a journey that can take months or years. Behind each petri dish is a story of love, longing, and the courage to keep trying, even when the odds are uncertain. For all its wonders, IVF is not a magic button. It demands time, money, and emotional energy. A single cycle can take weeks of preparation and cost thousands of dollars with no guarantee of success. Even with modern advances, the odds are still against you more often than not. An embryo must survive freezing, thawing, and the complex dance of implantation. Sometimes, despite everyone's best efforts, it doesn't work. There are also ethical debates about unused embryos, genetic screening, and how far we should go in shaping human life. Questions without easy answers, because science moves faster than society's comfort. And yet, for many families, even a small chance is worth the effort, because the reward holding a child that might never have existed can outweigh every obstacle along the way. IVF has transformed the way we think about creating life. It has turned laboratories into the first home of millions of humans, a place where science and hope meet under the glow of microscope lights. Each year, the technology improves. Better embryo screening, artificial womb research, and even the possibility of creating eggs and sperm from skin cells. These advances could one day help almost anyone, anywhere, have a child. But beyond the science, IVF is about people. Parents who refuse to give up. Doctors and embryologists who treat each tiny cell with the care of a priceless treasure. And children who grow up knowing their first moments happened in a dish, but their lives were built on love. The journey from sperm and egg to human being is one of the oldest stories we know. IVF simply gave us a new chapter, one we're still writing together.